The following is a production of Shark Flight Media. Shark Flight Media. Shark Flight Media. Shark Flight Media.
From mechs to mages or agents to argonauts, this is the world of Chris Kennedy Publishing. This is the CKP Future Books Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to this month's edition of Future Books. We're speaking again to our wonderful publisher, Chris Kennedy, and we are going to talk about the releases in the month of March. And let me tell you, you need to just go ahead and pull out a $20 bill and send it to Amazon because everything this month is good, and it is the best entertainment you're going to get for $20 in the United States. And we are going to talk to Chris about all of them so you can pick out the ones that you are most interested in. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me. Great talking with you again.
Man, this month is packed, and it's all packed with outstanding authors and some really good novels. And it's a short month. We've only got 4 books, but every book packs a punch.
Oh, absolutely. I'm really excited about all of these. And like you said, there's only 4, but man, what a great 4.
And to start off the month, we get to wrap up a long-term saga that we have been wondering. We answer a lot of questions in about 1,000 pages. Mr. Ikenberry and Mr. Cordova have worked together and have tied up the Peacekeeper.
Don't say Peacemaker.
I owe like a case of beer right at this point.
If you say Peacekeeper, then you owe Ike beer.
You're right. So the Chronicles with this book, and as I was telling Chris just off air before we did this is the most heart-wrenching, emotional Four Horsemen book yet, and if you have never read a Four Horsemen book, this is the one you want to read.
Yeah, and I think that this is you can probably look at this one as the beginning of the end. A lot of the readers have said, "Well, hey, is this series ever going to end? Is there going to be a conclusion? Are we going to find out stuff?" And all along I've said yes, and here we go. Here we start tying up things. You start. A lot of the things that you had probably guessed, you now find out for fact, whether it is or isn't. And bring a box of Kleenex.
Yeah. We now have I will say, in my opinion, probably the loneliest creature on earth has to be Tassan at this point in time.
Yeah, absolutely.
The loneliest Depic.
Who actually is one of my favorite characters in the entire series, because I've gotten to write San on several occasions, and it's been a lot of fun. But man, yeah, I'm with you. Yeah,
this book broke my heart. People should buy this book, read it, and then make a donation of that same amount to CKP because it's that good. It's worth paying for twice.
Okay, well, I'll accept any donations. Absolutely. So,
And then the very next week on March 17th, our good friend Ian Malone has The Last Argonaut. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, this is an interesting book, and it's one that I've been looking forward to for quite some time. This month, we actually have 2 releases in the Salvage title universe, and this is the first of them. The Last Argonaut actually deals with the sport of warball. And it's something that's been kind of hinted at a number of times. One of the main characters in the very original Salvage title was a former warball player. And people have talked about it, and you get kind of sort of a feel. And now you find out, what it's all about. Plus, there's a story going on in the background, and it ties up all of Ian's novels in the Salvage title universe. He has several short stories, and this brings it all together, ties it up with a real nice bow, and shows us what Warball's all about, and tells a great story while he's doing it. It's a lot of fun. It isn't to be missed.
Anything that Ian does is going to be above average, and his Salvage title doing a Salvage title novel is going to be fantastic. So, and I can't wait to find out more about Warball.
Yeah, the neat thing about Ian is Ian writes fun books. They're fun to read. It's great for escapism. You just sit down and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I tell Ian it's like watching a movie in your head while you're reading when you read one of his books. It's a visual story.
And it's, there's always a lot of good brotherhood kinds of things and people looking out for each other and, kind of the older traditional values that, kind of went out of style for a little while, but are kind of coming back in again. Some of the things that I grew up with, and was raised on, teamwork. It's great to see and love it.
Yep. And the only way you talk about it coming back, the way it comes back is people continue to write stuff like this, where people our age reminisce about it, and people who are younger that never experienced it say, well, if it worked out good there, maybe we ought to try it again. So anytime we have one of our authors promoting these core values, it's a plus on many levels.
Absolutely. It's kind of like, well, people say, well, how come Maverick was such a success when, it's kind of a lot like the first one and whatever, because it does, it works because it brings about something where it's more than just one person. It's the team. It's, looking out for each other. It's doing all those sorts of things that we grew up with. And, it's just, it harkens back to a time where people cared about each other.
Absolutely. When Blue Falcons were not prevalent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then on March 24th, one of my very favorite new authors in the pantheon of John Sears and
Bill Frisby. And surprisingly enough, I put Fred in the same category as John Osborne. We have Prince Renegade, which has to be the most exciting new series that we're publishing right now. Oh, absolutely. It's great. And anybody that has tried it out, up to this point is going to really enjoy this one. I just finished it here a few days ago and loved it, like I expected to. I'm not sure that this one isn't the best one in the series. There are some really neat things that happen, some neat places they go, and it really opens the door for number 6. And you're not going to. It's going to be one of those things. When you finish 5, you're going to be like immediately on the phone or messaging Fred and going, "All right, man, where's number 6? Because I need it now."
I'm sure I'm glad that I did not have a copy of this to read immediately after reading the Misfits.
Yeah. And I can tell you that number 6, I already have will be out June 30th. So March, April, May, June. So there's 3 months there. You're going to have to wait. And hopefully it'll go fast because I'm ready for it now.
Yeah. Well, all the plebeians that are listening to this may have to wait. I may be able to twist somebody's arm. I know some people over at CKP.
I know a guy.
And then we're going to conclude the month of March with Knightfall under Keros. It's another Salvage title novel. It's our second of this month, and it's by an author that only has a couple of credits under her name as far as novels go with CKP. Melissa Olthoff, is that correct?
Olthoff.
Yep. And she's coming out on March 31st, and I think this may be the follow-up novel for a previous Salvage title novel she did. Is that correct?
Right. Sunrise Over Shippo. This is the second Salvage Bunny novel. For those that are familiar with it, we'll catch the reference to Salvage Bunny. And this is the second of her trilogy in the Salvage title universe. And you should get used to seeing her name because she has one basically the next 4 months, this month, and then 3 more coming also in the Salvage title universe that she co-wrote with Nick Steverson. So, not Kevin Steverson, but Nick Steverson of the Dragon fame. So he knows his way around the Salvage title universe. Melissa has written several short stories in the universe. She knows her way around it as well. Plus the first novel that she wrote, and this one follows right on from it, and is every bit as good as the first. I think Melissa is very much an up and coming author that, she's going to go places. I don't know how long I'll have her with CKP, before she runs off to bigger things. But I hope it's a long time because she is awesome.
I thought everybody that came to work for CKP was there in perpetuity since you have their souls.
I do, but sometimes I share them with Baen.
Oh, okay.
And Tony Weiskopf likes them to do their thing for her periodically. So
we'll allow it.
Yeah, we're good sharers. And I expect it won't be long before I'm sharing her with Tony as well.
We certainly hope the best for anybody that works for CKP. As we've mentioned many times over the years with the podcast, it's one of the reasons that I stay involved with CKP is the fact that it's the most family-oriented, friendliest, nobody argues with each other group of people I've ever been associated with. I have never seen anybody be able to put this large group of people together and not have any really outstanding rear ends. And you can replace the word rear end with whatever you want to. Yeah,
it's really pretty neat. We have a chat, with all of the authors in it, and it really is just like a family, and everybody, cheers on the successes of each other. And, here recently, Marisa got her first contract with Baen, and everybody was super excited for her. And that's just the way we are. And, we all are trying to do good things and help each other on, to continued greatness. So I see great things for Melissa as well. She is an outstanding natural author, and she's gonna go places without a doubt in my mind.
And I also, just to circle back before we maybe chat a few minutes about what else is going on with CKP before we leave the novels. One of the things that occurred to me when we were talking about Fred Hughes and the Prince, the whole Hazard saga. Science fiction is great. I've probably read as much science fiction as anybody on earth, literally. And I love it. But I like other types of books too. The Prince Renegade books, you could strip out every trope that has a spaceship, a ray gun, anti-gravity, faster than light travel. Strip every bit of that out of these books and replace it with castles and dragons and steeds and knights, and you would still have these great stories. And it's really unusual for somebody to be able to write such a complete story that you could plug it into just about any genre and it would be just as good.
Oh, absolutely. And I hadn't thought about that before, but I can totally see it. I can totally see, all of the travails that he goes through, translating to a fantasy book, and
all the team that he builds around him, how much he trusts his brothers, all that stuff translates across genre.
Yeah, absolutely. And having mentioned the Prince series, I'm happy to say that Podium just picked it up. So all of those books will be coming out in audio here pretty quick. Actually, they were excited about it, and they've already got it, in work. They've already sent out for the character sketches from each from Fred, so that they can get started on it here right away.
Well, I would say that entire series will lend itself very well to audiobooks. There's some books that they you can do an audiobook and they're okay, but these can be told like a storyteller would tell them. They're going to be great.
Oh, yeah, I agree totally.
Well, that covers all of our books for March. We have The Next Crusade, Shedding the Past, As My Witnesses, and Revolution Calling, all being released or just been released as audiobooks. Do we have any audiobooks in Yes. In March, we have A Lunar Free State. We have We Dare, No Man's Land. Guys, seriously, that'd be a great book to get on audiobook. It's all short stories. It's anthologies. And I have a good, strong feeling there'll probably be a couple of novels come out of the We Dare anthologies, especially No Man's Land. No Man's Land was outstanding.
The girl that is, or the woman that's on the cover of No Man's Land.
That's yours, isn't it?
That is, yeah, that was my story. The woman with the bionic arm, her name is Kat. I am happy to say that there is another story about her. That she has also been in a number of places. She's kind of been the person that I've written into other series outside of CKP. She is in No Game for Knights by Baen. And then I got picked up for the next noir book that follows that, which is Down These Mean Streets, or that's not quite it, but it's like that. I don't remember exactly the title, but it's the third noir anthology that Casey Azell and Larry Correia are doing. And in my story, using her again, got picked up for that too, and is already into Tony. So I'm excited to get her out a little further. I had a friend that I flew in the Navy with, and he actually texted me this week, and he was reading No Game for Knights, and he's like, "Hey, this Cat person, is there a full length book? Because I want to know more." And I'm like, "Well, there's several short stories, and there will be a full length book at some point." In my copious free time, it is on my list to put some of these stories together and write the full length story, because she has a really neat history. She's done a lot of things, been a lot of places, and I'm looking forward to seeing what everyone thinks in the next anthology that Baen puts out. The story is called Urban Renewal. And how they do that is interesting.
Is it the We Dare series of short stories, and forgive me if I'm calling the wrong one, that has the short story that has I think he's a bounty hunter and he's got some really smart wolves that go with him?
No, that is actually the fantasy one, the Valor series. That's in one of the Valor books.
I want to know more about that. That was a great story.
Yeah.
And then we've got Salvage title. It takes all kinds.
There's a couple that I'm thinking of. Which wolves?
These are able to go and turn invisible.
Oh, yes, that is in We Dare. I believe it's Jason Cordova's.
Okay. How much do I have to spend, or what kind of gun do I need to send you so that you can coerce him into writing a novel?
I will see what can be done.
All right. I know a guy.
I know a guy. I know Jason, as a matter of fact. So, yeah, obviously you do too, since he's on the other part of this podcast.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
You should have twisted his arm when you had him.
Well, he's the writer. I'm talking to the elephant. You know where the elephant sits in the room?
Wherever he wants.
That's exactly right. So I'm talking to the elephant right now. He'll be glad to write whatever you want, as long as you give him.
I'll twist his arm.
Filthy lucre.
Yeah.
The last audiobook this month is It Takes All Kinds, and that's a Salvage title anthology, and it'll be late March. Anything else going on with CKP that we're to the point where we can let the listeners know, or are we still pretty much in a holding pattern?
There's a couple other things coming, but can't talk about them yet.
Okay, well, then we look forward to doing this again in about 25 more days, and maybe you'll be able to talk about something then.
I would look forward to it.
Man, we really appreciate you staying up late tonight and doing the podcast, and every time that you come on, I just want to reiterate how much we appreciate, because I know you're busy, and this is like a fly speck on what we do as a company. But I love being able to talk to the authors, and I love letting our listeners know what they can look forward to in the coming months.
I look forward to being here with you and love doing it. It's always one of the high points of my month.
Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for showing up, and we will do this again next month. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to the March edition of Future Books. We appreciate Chris letting us know what's coming out in the month of March. And now we get a wonderful opportunity to talk to one of the two authors involved with this month's featured book. He's been on the podcast once before. We super enjoyed having him the last time, so I can't wait to find out how his life has changed and what's been going on and what books he has coming out. Today we talked to Jason Cordova, who partnered with Kevin Ikenberry and is releasing The Misfits, which I have read. I called Jason a really dirty word because those of us who are Four Horsemen fans, I'm preparing you, have a handkerchief when you read this book. It's going to tear your heart out. Jason, welcome.
Thanks for having me again, Randy.
Man, we really appreciate you coming in and talking to us. This book seems to wrap up a lot of threads and pushes us in a direction to let us know that there are brand new things happening in the Four Horsemen universe. If you don't mind, Jason, let's start off by you giving us a little synopsis of The Misfits.
Well, The Misfits is the direct sequel of On a Cloudy Day. When Kevin and I sat down to write the books, we realized very quickly that this was going to be a 200,000 word book, which there's no way Chris was going to publish that. So we did a little bit of creative juggling on the timeline for us, and we managed to get it into 2 books instead of trying to force it into 1. And for The Misfits, it picks up directly after the battle. Yep. And Sunshine has now learned most of the truth about herself. There's still a couple surprises left in there. She's known for a while that she's uplifted. She now understands that she has, I guess this isn't too spoilery, that she has a synthetic intelligence in her brain. But Lucille, who is Jessica Francis's synthetic intelligence, points out that they don't tell Sunshine this, but it's the SI is slowly eating her brain. And it's literally a race against time for Sunshine to finally figure out what happened to her and try to stop the process from destroying her completely.
Well, I will tell you that the conversations that she has with Tassan, and when she finds out that more and more about the SI and the big reveal of more about her physiology that you do in this book, and then the conclusion of that story, that's some of the best writing either you or Kevin have ever done. It actually brought tears to my eyes. It's so good.
Every time I wrote that scene, because I set that scene up way, way back about in The Executioners, actually. I set that scene up because the big spoiler, it's the big reveal who Sunshine is and where she comes from is finally told in The Misfits. And I set that up, or Matt Novotny and I set that up way back in The Executioners when we were writing that one.
Well, it's a wonderful scene. And I love the relationship between the Aquari former peacekeeper and Rayleigh Riley. That relationship has developed over several books, but him in this book, he basically announces to her or tells her that he thinks of her as his daughter, and all the training and all that she's been going through, we get to see what the results of all that work has accomplished. What a great story. Tell us a little bit about that relationship and Kretsakai, or however you pronounce his name.
Kretsakai.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How that's going, and are we going to be seeing more of that?
Yes. First off, that was mostly Kevin. I tried to chime in a little bit, but Kretsakai and Rayleigh have been Kevin's babies from the start. And it was really neat to see them interact with Sunshine briefly on a cloudy day. So having them watching their relationship, I mean, I'm just as big a fan. So I'm reading this as Kevin's writing this, and I'm like, wow, this is good. Whew.
It is.
And for the record, you owe Kevin a beer now.
Okay.
Because they are not peacekeepers, they are peacemakers.
Peacemakers, you're correct. I guess I do owe him a beer. Well,
Kevin a beer.
I would have bought him a beer anyway. He's brought me so much pleasure and enjoyment over the last 3 or 4 years with his writing. I probably owe him a case of beer.
But there is you will see Rayleigh and Korsakai again in A Ray of Sunshine, which is going to be Nick Steverson and Kevin Ikenberry. They're still working on the book.
Okay, well that will be interesting to see what develops from that.
Yeah, because Nick's a fantastic author, and I can't wait to see what him and Kevin come up with. Because the three of us, including Matt Novotny, about 2 years ago, got together on a really cold, rainy day out at CoinJock, North Carolina, sat down, and we plotted about 4 or 5 books out that we were all working on that all tied in together.
As much stuff that was wrapped up in this book, the ends that were tied off, does this make way for yet another saga? Are we going to see like 15 or 20 books breaking off from this now?
Well, it's something we're talking about because, as you know, I can't actually say anything without spoiling the end, so I can't. Okay.
Well, we'll just leave that where it is. I hope there's more coming, and I hope there's a lot more because the Peacemakers, they have been like one leg of the Four Horsemen three-legged stool. And with this pretty much wrapping up that story and basically resetting the guild, I'm interested to see what replaces that leg.
Yeah, well, the guild's still there.
Well, it is, but it's kind of under tremendously new management.
Under new management, yeah.
So I don't know if you could really say the guild is still there. The new guild is still there.
True. I mean, well, I know with the Phoenix Initiative, when Chris and Mark set it out, it needed a 5-year pause. It's literally a break. It's trying to get new mercenary companies up and running to get ready for this new threat that everybody knows is coming, is on the horizon. You can see it. We've now touched on it On a Cloudy Day and the Misfits.
Have you got plans for Tassan now?
San's actually not my character. I get to use her with permission from Casey Azell and Marisa Wolf. And Kevin Ikenberry. So I don't have any idea where she's going next. She shows up when she wants and she takes off when she needs to.
And that's actually pretty standard for a Depic, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see what else happened in that book that was super surprising and
the complete eradication of a mercenary company.
Oh, there is definitely that, and we get to finally get the closure that we needed with Jessica's old husband.
Yes, that was very.
That was super satisfying.
It was nice. It was nice to be able to read that again. That's one of the scenes Kevin handled because that was his.
Oh yeah, that was his baby
from the start.
Yeah.
But it was very nice to read that and be like, yes, finally, we're finally getting some closure between these two.
Yeah, I needed a brandy and a cigar after reading that section.
70 books.
It was
only taken 70 books, but we got it.
Yeah, it was really good. So, I guess as a synopsis of the Misfits and the entire Peacemaker story. This has been a long time coming, and it was definitely worth the wait. It was definitely worth reading all the books to get there. This may be one of the 3 or 4 best Four Horsemen books ever written. So I strongly encourage anybody listening to the podcast, if you're a Four Horsemen fan, to definitely buy this book. So that being said, what date does it does it release?
March 10th, actually. So as the time of recording, about a week from now.
Right. So about the time you're hearing this, you should be able to buy this book. CKP will be releasing it on the 10th, and you can get it through Amazon. And something that we haven't talked about lately, for those of you who don't know, Amazon has a Kindle Unlimited program, and these books fall under that program. So if you buy that subscription, you can read everything from CKP for the cost of that one subscription a year. And if you're just a CKP fan, if you just read everything that CKP releases, which works out to about 50 novels a year, it's that in itself pays for your subscription. So I would encourage anybody who's interested to look into the Kindle Unlimited program. So now that we've discussed your upcoming book, you have an unusual position in your job in real life. Most of the CKP authors wear several hats, but you're the only one that has a foot in CKP and a foot in Baen Books. And you had just started your job at Baen when we did the podcast last time. Tell us a little bit about the perspective that you've gotten working with both companies, since there's a lot of cross-pollination between the two companies.
Well, you pretty much summed it up. It's being that hybrid author, which allows me to learn from Baen, learn how the way Baen does, and remember my indie roots, and use that when it comes to terms like marketing. Like, I just had a book I edited for Baen that come out in January called Chicks in Tank Tops. It's a continuation spinoff of what Esther Friesner did back in the late 80s and throughout the 90s and early 2000s. And there were a lot of fun books, and now I wanted to do a little bit of a science fiction twist on it, little harder edge to it. And being able to work with Esther, learning how to do that, working with Tony throughout the publication process, as well as the other steps that goes through to make a book a widely distributed book with through our distributor it was such an eye-opening experience when it compares to how Chris Kennedy is pretty straightforward.
So in real life, if you are a working author, you haven't had anything published yet, but you've got a good book. You're 2/3 of the way through. You send enough of that to Baen through whatever subscription or publication process that they have. Realistically, from the time the book is received, assuming that it's just fantastically written, how long from the time it shows up at Baen would it be probably before it was in print and you could go buy it at a bookstore?
Depends. Is it contracted, for starters?
Well, that's why I say it's a new author, never had anything published. They sent this through Slush.
Looking at a couple years at least.
What have you got on your agenda other than the Correia book? Which, by the way, tell everybody a little bit about that and when the prospective publishing date is for that, so they'll be looking for it.
Basically, it's Monster Hunter Memoirs Fever. It's coming October 3rd or 6th. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's the first Tuesday of October. And basically, it's take place in the 70s where a Part Naguali who works for Monster Hunter International is called in to start a team in Los Angeles because there's something there and they need to put a stop to it.
Oh boy. Is this going to be like the Ringo collaboration with Correia? Is it going to be like 3 or 4 books, or is it a standalone? We've written it where it could be continued on, but it's also a standalone. So it depends on how well it does. Well, I would suspect, having read almost everything that Larry has done and seeing the success of the Correia Ringo collaboration, I would suspect we'll probably be seeing a sequel to this then.
Oh yeah, it's a good book. I know a lot of people were kind of torn about Chad. You either really liked him or you really hated him. There was no room for a middle ground. Chloe, the main character for ours, she's cool. She's not cool. That's the funny part. She left to go fight in the World War II to earn her puff exemption, and she only is just now coming back to the States in the 70s. So she's not cool. She actually doesn't understand American lingo anymore and American culture. She's completely shell-shocked because she's been in Israel for the past 30 years fighting demons.
So basically what we have here is a female Captain America.
Yes, exactly.
Well, that's going to be fun.
So she's originally born in Mexico, came up to the United States and joined Monster Hunter when they found out what she was.
Okay. Well, I know what I'll be buying in October to read. So what else have you got on your agenda? What does 2023 look like for Jason Cordova?
Busy. I just turned in my short story for Jamie Ibsen's We Dare 5, Old Age and Treachery. It's a continuation of Quintus Fox. I just wrote another Quintus Fox short story for him. And the cool thing is he's actually writing a prequel story from another character's point of view, and we're threading it together.
Oh, that'll be fun.
So it's really cool. He has a game warden by the name of Orf Buffington, which is an inside I don't know if you've heard the Buff Orpington jokes, but okay. So he has Orf Buffington tracking Fox since he allegedly stole some endangered wolf pups from a planet, which isn't the case, but we set that up way back in another story. And then let's see, that was We Dare.
Are these the pups that I read a short story and then it got weird? Yes. Yes. Oh, I love those stories.
Yeah, it's a continuation of that. This will be the third or fourth Quintus Fox story I've written now.
We need a novel.
I'm tempted. I really am. It's just so fun.
Well, he's a great character, and the pups are great characters.
Yeah, the pups are their own little entities. It's like you think you're going to do one thing, and they go off and do another, and you're like, I'm the author here. I'm in charge.
No,
you wander off, and you're like, great.
That's great.
So I got that, and then I owe Kevin a Salvage universe short story, which I need to turn in. I just got contracted to do another anthology for Baen, which is already filled because I'm taking over from somebody else. Right now it's called A Symphony of Chaos. And it's a regular science fiction, weird anthology that's going to be, I've got David Weber on board. So that's good.
Well, that's you'll definitely sell some books.
And I've got Nick Cole and Jason Anspach, Joel Presby.
Ooh, she's good.
I've got some, Onikchobwe, Ekpeki. I can never say his last name right. He's a multi-award winning, he won the Nebula last year for Best Editor. I mean, if you name an award, he's won it in the past 2 years, and he's a fantastic author on top of that. I can't think of who else I got for that one. And then Tony Larry announced it earlier this year. I'm going to be editing the Monster Hunter Files Volume 2 with him. So that's going to be a continuation of the first one he did. And then I've got just conventions. I'll be at Fantasy later this month.
You're going to be at LibertyCon?
Yes, I'll be at LibertyCon.
Ah, we'll see each other then.
Cool. Be nice to meet you.
Well, in person, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to meeting you too.
And then Dragon Con, of course, because that's I'm working all three of them though. So, but I mean, I'll still be there, but I'll be working.
Well, I will tell you, I've followed you much more closely since we did the podcast last year, and I have been extremely impressed with how your role at Baen seems to have grown over the how long have you been there now? A year and a half?
I've been there a year and 2 months, about 14 months.
Yeah. So you hit the ground running and never slowed down. So kudos.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that we need to talk about that we haven't touched on yet? Certainly give out your social media contacts so people can follow you.
I actually am doing I'm focusing a little bit on Twitter now. Before last time I mentioned I had one, but I didn't really pay attention to it. But I discovered that I like posting memes, and people like my memes. So I'm still Warp Cordova on Twitter. My website, jasoncordova.com. I update it about once once or twice, sometimes 3 times a month, depends. Just getting people a general update. And that's pretty much it for social media where I publicly share stuff.
Well, Jason, we certainly appreciate you taking time, especially on a Saturday afternoon, to do the podcast. I want to tell you that you have quickly become one of my favorite authors. I cannot say enough good things about the Misfits. If the Four Horsemen universe had started with that book as its first book, I think it would have been just as successful as it is now. It's that good.
Thank you.
I can't wait to read more stuff from you. Both from CKP and Baen, and I hope we're doing this again in 3, 4 months or 6 months on your next release.
Yes, definitely.
And thank you so much for being here today. And people, if you have any more questions for Mr. Cordova, certainly hit him up on Twitter. He is usually pretty chatty, and we'll talk to his fans. So thanks everybody for listening, and thank you, Jason, for coming to the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to the CKP Future Books podcast with host Randy Willis. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider leaving it a review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you subscribe. Show likes and channel subscriptions are also much appreciated on the CKP YouTube channel. Finally, if you'd like to know more about this author or others on the CKP roster, visit chriskennedypublishing.com. Thanks for listening to the CKP Future Books podcast. We'll see you next time.